Remember the fact that I said I had a label on every bed? Well, here's why. This is my magic book. Actually, nothing magic about it at all. It's just a garden diary. This picture was originally made in 2016, and that's when we got our garden to the current layout. And you can see every bed has basic information, just numbers. And that bed up here is on a separate system. All the rest of these are on the system that is located over in here, control box. So what this lets me do is keep track of the individual beds. Now, some people don't do this. I like to, because if I've had a success or a failure, I like to know why, or at least what the plant was. Sometimes I make notations about individual fertilizers and things like that. This worked well, that didn't seem to work so well. Because, I don't even make believe I can remember everything. When I plant a tomato bed, for instance, this one, here's our tomato bed. That was a tomato bed that was planted in June of 2016. And it shows every plant that was put in it. Roma, San Marzano, Red Pear, and Burpee's Burger. Which, if you don't know, is a giant, wonderful, scrumptious beefsteak style that usually is actually larger than most of the burgers we make. Anyway, the spacing is based on whether they're determinate or indeterminate. And if my labels in the garden die, I know exactly what I have. This is not the only book I have like this. I also have this one. Now you'll notice this is a green one, green and white. I picked this up for $1 at the dollar store, and this is just for the greenhouse, which seemed like a good choice to use green. And it just helps me keep track of what I planted and when I planted it and what the results were. Good or bad. And today what I'll do, because I planted peas, is I will make a record on the current page. As you'll notice, there are no entries for 2019. That's because I haven't planted anything in the garden yet. I used to write down things like the soil amendments. I don't anymore. I sometimes do, if I feel it's something special or something, whatever. Fertilizer usually I'll write in. But it's time to change this. And there it is, my entry in my garden diary. Really not that complicated. I drew a little map. When you saw me planting, I actually put some rocks. I didn't measure this to see if it was exactly to scale. I didn't worry about that. It was the whole layout concept that I was concerned about. The Essayant seeds are here, the snow peas are here, and the shelling peas are here. And this is the little section I decided that it would be silly not to plant. But I have the varieties of peas and the fact that they were all treated with inoculants before I put them in the soil. Now if I have a question later on, I know what the answer is. All I have to do is look at my book. I started doing these books a very long time ago in Massachusetts. And back then I was buying from a lot more sources. Unfortunately, one of my main sources no longer exists. They were sold. But it's nice to be able to go back and say, those were delicious fruit from that plant. I don't remember the variety. There it is. Sometimes if you have a small garden, you can't plant everything you want to plant every year. So this helps a lot to help you remember exactly what you planted and where you planted it too, because most plants, they recommend you don't plant the same variety, or most garden vegetables, they recommend you don't plant them in the same spot in your garden every year. So if you planted tomatoes someplace, you probably, if you have the option, should not plant tomatoes there again next year, or anything in the tomato family. So I wouldn't plant peppers there either. Might not even plant potatoes there because they're all in the nightshade family. Plants that have susceptibilities to the same sorts of diseases, it's a good idea to know where you planted them. And if you have a very simple garden that's all laid out in nice, neat little rows, and you plant the same sort of patterns every year, maybe you can remember everything you did. Maybe you can remember every type of seed you purchased, where you got it from, but I can't. I won't even make believe. And because we do succession planting in our garden, in other words, we'll plant something early, then when that's sort of burned out, we take that out, we plant something later. It's hard to remember exactly what you've done, but this solves that problem. So now it's time to clean up the mess. Got to put the seeds away and the books away so I can find them when I need them the next time.